A few months ago, like May 2022, Homie Ross, the homeless, or homulus, walked around in Strasbourg, France, when a Frenchie approached, saying he was from the DRM, for Direction des Renseignements Militaires, or French MI, Military Intelligence. He introduced himself as Jean-Paul and invited me for a bite. And yes, I'm still alive. Though it did cross my mind at the moment, and what if? We can all see the concept of 3 and 4 in their logo here, standing for square and compass, with a lot of squares for the concept of 4 in the 3 pharaonic colors, blue, white and red. Everything in several circles for the compass, because with the compass one can draw a perfect circle for the concept of 3 and also 3 letters. And behind we can see the French nuclear aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle. He told me that all French terrorist investigations by MI French all stranded dead-end street in Switzerland. So for further intel about it, you can see this in my video here on my other channel, Homeland Security, entitled Abu Musab al-Swissi of Octagon's Islamofascism branch, well, etc. Here he is. This is the guy who organized the terrorist attacks in Paris, and he's Swiss. And of course, he's not a Muslim, he's Octagon. They never found him, never heard of him ever again. Typical Octagon. So Jean-Paul revealed to me that MI French are in Alsace, in the towns of Haguenau and Mutzig. Information about their whereabouts hardly anyone would know, I guess. I never saw Jean-Paul again and never heard of him either. A real spook. So, well, let's feed MI French some more valuable intel on the powerful Swiss Holdeman bloodline, which I got through your comments. Damn, can't even take any more credits on my own videos. All honors go to you guys and girls on this one. So this video here is in fact the follow-up and part 2 of this video here, entitled Lone Scum and Planet of the Apes, on the same channel. So this here is part 1, and the one you're looking at now is part 2. I love this teamwork with you guys and girls, and this is what I found in your comments on the Lone Scum film. And I will only address the person in question by his anagram Lone Scum from now on, and for his female progenitor codenamed Cruella de Vil. So my video won't get lifted out of the FuckTube shop, as in FuckTube shoplifters. Comment number 1. Sean, your film reminds me of the most famous member of the Haldeman bloodline, Bob Haldeman, key player in Nixon's 1972 Watergate scandal. Swissy did it. Now look, Watergate, here you can see Swissy. Key player H.R. Haldeman, also called Bob Haldeman, Swiss Bob. And this is what I've been telling you people for many years now, and I've given you the proofs that Swissy is in the White House. Her President Herbert Hoover, Swiss. Director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, Swiss, real name Hoover. President Eisenhower, Swiss. Director of the CIA, Allen Dulles, Swiss. President Obama, Swiss. Here it says, they are the key players, Swissy. There were two main scandals in the Watergate scandal. The minor one, the Republican Party breaking into the Democrats' offices at the Watergate building in Washington, D.C. And that triggered the big scandal of the White House. The White House interfering and using the CIA to stop the FBI's investigations of the Watergate burglary. So I read it for you here. Here it says, Bob Haldeman, White House Chief of Staff. Well, with staff they probably mean the magic wand, as in the coat of arms, the crest of the Haldeman dynasty of the aristocracy. So I read it for you here. The day after, the Post mentioned that Nixon and his Chief of Staff, Bob Haldeman, secretly discussed forcing the FBI to drop the burglary investigation. Publicly, a White House spokesman refused to comment on a third-rate burglary. Nixon thought from the start that he could cover up how far he was involved. So Swiss Bob here, he's the key player in the Watergate scandal. And there was the big part of that scandal was like the White House interfering into the legal actions of the FBI, you know, to put a halt to the corruption and to cover it all up. I mean, that's Swissy, eh? Covering things up, you know. It's neutral, they never did anything, you know. The Nazis, they brought their Nazi gold there, never invaded Switzerland. They cover it all up, eh? That's so typical Swissy stuff, eh? Covering it up. The main player was the Swiss Harry Robbins Haldeman, also called Bob, and his boss, US President Richard Nixon, also called Dirty Dick. So Dirty Dick and Swiss Bob creating the biggest political scandal the US has ever seen, impeaching the first and only ever president of the United States ever abdicated, all because of a Swissy from the very powerful Bernese Haldeman dynasty. Look at his haircut. Hey, Swissy, nice crew cut, eh? Nice military haircut. You almost look like a soldier. Of course he's a soldier. He's a soldier of the Octagon in the White House. He's a soldier for Switzerland. That's what I tell you. So here it says, I'll read it for you. H.R. Haldeman, Bob Haldeman. Haldeman presided over the most notorious White House staff of the 20th century. Haldeman was convicted of perjury, conspiracy, conspiracy, Swissy, there you got it. That's how I've been telling you all these years. And obstruction of justice for his role in the cover-up of the Watergate scandal. And the only thing Swiss Bob did in defense of his conspiracy against the people of the United States of America was comparing himself with toothpaste, white, as in clean white Switzerland, or whitewashing US tax evasion dollars by the Swiss Nazi-Templar banks. So he just said, Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it is awfully hard to get it back in. Now, what a weird thing to say for someone indicted for conspiracy against the United States. Anyone else would get 3 times life for that in the US, like 500 years in prison or 25 years for cutting down a plant, but not Swiss Bob. Oh no, Swiss Bob only did 18 months in prison. 18 months for conspiracy against the US. Can you believe that? Just compare that with what they're doing to Julian Assange. Things should be turned the other way around. 18 months for Julian and a triple lifer for Swiss Bob. Here you can see it. Haldeman, a former advertising executive who was credited with remaking Nixon's image in his successful 1968 campaign for the White House, served 18 months in prison for his role in the Watergate. It's a scandal, really. That's the third scandal, eh? First, the minor scandal, like breaking into the Watergate. Then the major scandal of covering it all up and by the White House. And this is the third scandal, letting him get away with 18 months, eh? And here, look. Critics, I'll read it for you. Critics made fun of his German name, short haircut, arrogance, and capacity for detail. Now, that's typical Swiss, they have a capacity for detail, talking about funny things, nobody's interested in, like a toothpaste or something, or things like this, and talking about the details that you can't put the toothpaste back into the tube. That's the detail. Just putting us on a sidetrack. And they have a capacity for detail, the Swiss, except they never remember their own crimes. That just doesn't exist for them. And in the media in those days, 1972, they passed him on as German. Germans getting the blame again for everything, as usual. But behind the Germans, there's something else. This guy is Swiss, and they're in the White House. Can you imagine? And there was also this other guy here, John Ehrlichman. Ehrlich, it means honest, so the honest man. That's real funny, eh? The honest man and Swiss Bob and the honest man and Dirty Dick. So, how did he do that? Swiss Bob getting away with conspiracy. Did he use the magic wand of the Swiss Haldeman dynasty in the motherland? Well, only the initiated of the real power behind will understand, because the incomprehensible Swiss toothpaste parable was a code and secret appeal for help to the Swiss octagon to come and save Swiss Bob's dirty alpine arse. Toothpaste is white, like the White House or demotic pharaonic Berhet, standing for the Nazi-Templars' Republican New World Order horizontal rule, saying that the New World Order is here and won't go away anymore, admitting to all the royals, nobles and Freemasons that he, Swiss Bob, is a loyal member of the horizontal system, which in the US has come out of the tube in 1776 and will not vanish into the tube anymore, thus pledging his loyalty to Pharaoh's system and their Swiss base. So next time Julian Assange opens up his mouth, he'd better say that prison toothpaste is actually really good. Then he'll be free in no time. Swiss Bob would advise Julian to do so, as in Polytricks, white toothpaste most certainly cleans a lot more than just the teeth. Like squeeze out the US economy through tax evasion to Switzerland and their Nazi-Templar banks. And in fact, from this moment on, after the Watergate scandal in 1972, it went downwards with the US, politically, economically, and most of all, morally, squeezed out by Swiss Bob and his octagon pals. Hey Swissy, ain't that so? So I read it for you here. This is by the Earl Wilson, an Earl, hey? Money in the bank is like toothpaste in the tube. Easy to take out, hard to put back. This is probably where Swiss Bob, he got the idea from, because he's all linked up, of course, with the Swiss banks. And this is what Swissy did, as I explained to you in my videos, when they took from the Federal Reserve during the Wall Street crash in 1929, they transferred and stole the money of honest Americans and transferred it to the Bank of International Settlements, specially founded for this occasion. So they got the money out of the toothpaste, your money, in 1929, and it was really hard to put it back in. In fact, they never did. I've told you so many times that the Swiss rule over the US and have taken over all key positions, even into the White House with Swiss Bob Haldeman here, who was convicted of conspiracy. Here, watch my last video, Octagon Rules Over Pentagon. Templar banks own the USA. That someone saved, and I just found it again. So please save and re-upload this older video of mine that apparently the Swissies and their numerous Swiss Bobs all over the world don't want you to see. So here's the channel, Pharaonic Facocide. Okay, I get it. That's a nice one, funny. And here's the title, Octagon Rules Over Pentagon. Templar banks own the USA. Swiss Bob was even allowed to write a couple of bestsellers about his conspiracy against the US and his Swiss conspiracy against the Americans, as if he, the villain, was the hero in the whole story, whitewashing Switzerland and political money laundering, so Swiss Bob could sell himself as the all-American hero, because he knows what Americans like. Therefore, he called the book The Haldeman Diaries, because a personal diary associates with the inner truth of you writing to yourself in all honesty. Very sly move, Swiss Bob, but we all know you, in your entire life, never wrote any diaries at all, because you were just too busy lying to the American public. More like diarrhea instead of diary, Bob. You don't fool me anymore, Swizzy. So I show you the German version of the Wikipedia on Swiss Bob Haldeman here, because only here it says that his ancestors are Swiss. It says here his surname is pointing out that his ancestors are Swiss. Sein Nachname verweist auf seine schweizerischen Vorfahren. So I guess the Germans here, they thought by themselves, like Haldeman, that's not a German name, I never heard this name. And so as they do not always want to take the blame for everything, the Swiss did. So I guess the Germans, they put it here in here. I guess as Wikipedia, anybody can just take it off and put it back. And I guess the Swiss, they're gonna take it away quickly. So here it already stops. And I guess this is the first time in history someone talks about like Haldeman, where he really comes from and what kind of a bloodline and dynasty who are really all over the world. So since the Watergate scandal, this is the very first time someone reveals some of the truth behind the scenes and that things are not really what they look like. So that's why it's only in the German Wikipedia and not even in the English, because people still don't know. Hey, Swiss Bobby. So this is the English version. So you see here there's nothing about his ancestors, absolutely nothing. They only say, well, he has a German name and all this. Here, early life, nothing. It's absolutely nothing about his Swiss origins. And he even afterwards, he had a nice, after the Watergate scandal, he had a nice a business career, they say in it. But this is what I wanted to show you, the role in the Watergate. Look, he was in the Lompoc Federal Prison. There you go. And here, where he did only 18 months, that's nothing, So here, currently, there are some famous inmates. Well, here you can see them, what they did. Well, these two have a long sentence. But here you can see former. They're all the frauders, with banks and all this, Here, former leading Wall Street speculator. What's his name? Ivan Busky. Maybe they changed the name as well from some sort of a Swiss. Here, conspiracy. His name is Gene Hayes or something. And here, this is Haldeman, White House Chief of Staff. Can you imagine that, This is what John F. Kennedy said, they infiltrate everything. A hijacker here of the Federal Express, he hijacked, well, he has a life sentence. American rep. Here, the personal attorney for President Richard Nixon, Herbert Kalmbach. Another German name, Look at that. Well, he only did 6 months, like for conspiracy against the United States and all this, And here, Goldman Sachs, you got all the banking stuff here. This is, of course, when was that? 2007. Well, the banking scandal was in 2000, or the banking stuff was in 2008 with the Goldman Sachs and all that. His name is Eugene Plotkin. He was plotting things like, And here's also fraud, money laundering. So he only did 3 years, and this one, he did a lot, 14 years. Money laundering, also conspiracy. So how come 14 years and Haldeman, Swiss Bobby, he only did like 1.5 years? I mean, what's going on here, right? And conspiring again, conspiracy. Here, conspiracy, money laundering, fraud. So all the frauders, they put them in this prison here, whatever the name was. What was the name again? The Lompoc. That sounds like an Oriental name. Hey, Lompoc. What does that mean? Yeah. So, where's this guy again? The also, here, the personal attorney, Kalmbach. I'd like to have a look in that one and see where he comes from. Eh? So there's nothing about the ancestry of Haldeman here. So maybe somebody put it in it. Eh? So it's interesting anyway. So here, Herbert Kalmbach, I pronounce it the German way, was an American attorney and banker. He served as the personal attorney to United States President Richard Nixon. He became embroiled in the Watergate scandal due to his fundraising activities in the early 1970s. But what is interesting, Bach here in his name, actually, it means a current, like a little river, like calm. It means like calm, a calm little current. Kalmbach, yeah. Kalmbach was introduced to Richard Nixon, then vice president, by, oh look, there he is again, Swiss Bob. So Swissy here, he introduced another Swissy, you know, like a Trojan horse, into the White House. That's how they do it, huh? Just slowly, like gnawing away at the pillars of the American dream, maybe, or nightmare, or what shall I say, eh? So Kalmbach handled, like this here, he financed the sabotage and espionage operation of Donald Segretti. I'll show you some more about this guy. Here, Donald Segretti. He's another attorney. Also related to the Watergate scandal. And these guys, they went to a medium security prison, you know, just had a good life there, you know. Okay, later life, he remained to the council of Baker Hostetler. Now, if I hear the word Hostetler, okay, it rings a bell. Swissy. I met Hostetler people in Bern. It's a very typical Swiss name. So the whole Watergate scandal, people, it's Swiss, Swiss, Swiss from the beginning to the end. And the media, they just put it all, they just rubbed it all under the carpet, eh? It looks like Swissy blackmailed the US President Richard Nixon in order to have him take political decisions in the advantage of Switzerland and the Swiss base. This is what is really behind the Watergate affair. Yeah, information later emerged indicating that Nixon and Ribozzo had Swiss bank accounts where they could hide millions. That was confirmed by Robert Morgenthau, another German name, but the guy is a jaywalker. The US attorney for New York City in the late 1960s, Morgenthau had information on a visit Nixon had made to Switzerland, of course, an expert in helping people set up Swiss bank accounts. And Morgenthau was certain one Swiss bank in particular that Nixon used, probably the Hostetler Bank. In the late 1960s, Morgenthau was helping the House Banking and Currency Committee to formulate a new law that would have made it much harder for US citizens to operate secret accounts abroad. However, Nixon removed Morgenthau from office over the protests of senior Republicans as well as Democrats. So you see what's going on. And I have no doubt whatsoever that the ones who pushed Nixon behind the screens to do this was no one other than the whole Swissy gang behind it, like Swiss Bob Haldeman and his pals. So you see, the jaywalker Morgenthau, he was the only decent guy here in the whole shebang. And they just, eradicated him. Bye-bye, Mr. Morgenthau. You're just a jaywalker, So this is one of the thing, the jaywalkers are quite nosy probably and, think for themselves. And this is what the Swiss Nazis don't like at all, these sort of Morgenthau fellas. So again, the jaywalkers are not the enemy, in spite of the fact that they also have an aristocracy who are the enemy, but that's only the aristocracy. And the real enemy with their base, well, Pharaoh and their base in the Alps. Showing it here again. So I think the Swissies, they had Richard Nixon by the balls, and through the Swiss bank accounts, and he was on their pay list. Hey, Swissy. And that's why after the Watergate affair, it went downhill for America. And only the jaywalker, Mr. Morgenthau, he tried to do something and make it, with the House Banking and Currency Committee to formulate a new law that would have made it much harder for US citizens to operate secret accounts abroad. He wanted to stop the US tax evasion into the Alps. And this is the reason why it went downwards for America. Tax evasion to Switzerland. Hey, ain't that so, Swiss Bob? So here you can see Robert Morgenthau. There he is. He was the only decent fella around the entire Watergate affair. And here you can read about his ethnicity. Yeah, Morgenthau was born in 1919 in New York City into a prominent, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce this, his ethnicity, because the FuckTube machines, they will take my video away. So you read it yourself. Baden is in Germany. The German Empire, yeah. So his parents were Eleanor and Henry, and the Swiss Nazis, they don't like this tribe very much, eh? Yeah, sorry, I just can't pronounce it because the machine will take off my video. It already happened to me, So here is the Wikipedia website about Dirty Dick. And look at this here. Early life and education. Through his mother, Nixon was a descendant of the early English setter Thomas Cornell, who was also an ancestor of Ezra Cornell, the founder of Cornell University, as well as of Jimmy Carter and Bill Gates. So Ezra Cornell, he was also the ancestor of Jimmy Carter, of Bill Gates, and of Richard Nixon. It's just one pharaonic Swiss family, As the word pharaoh, it comes out of the demotic per-a, which means the big house. It's one big aristocratic house all over the world, people. So the rest of the information on the Haldeman ancestry and the Haldeman dynasty of a very powerful family who are everywhere on key positions in the world. You can find it in this video here, the one just before, entitled Lone Scum and Planet of the Apes, on the same channel. Here it says the Swiss Haldiman nobility, same Haldeman or Haldiman. So this is like part one, this video here, part one of the about the Haldeman dynasty. It's a nobility dynasty, and so the rest of the information is about the Haldeman dynasty is in this video here. By the way, Swaziland is feminine, as in Suis, Sœur d'Isis, Sisters of Isis, which you can see in the articles for Swaziland in both German and French, being both feminine. In German, it is die Schweiz for the feminine Swaziland, as you can see here. Die Schweiz, it means feminine. And in French, it is la Suisse for the feminine Swaziland. Here you can see it. Well, this is the town of Fribourg. And here it says Suisse, Suis, Sœur d'Isis, the sisters of Isis. Is, it's from Isis. And this was the first way in French Swaziland was being named by a French word, because the Knights Templars, when they came there and founded Swaziland, they spoke French. And then later on, they also made the German name Schwyz. In German you say Schweiz, but in Swiss German you say Schwyz, which means Schwester der Isis, Schwyz. Swiss, Sisters of Isis, and it's feminine here, la. Le in French it's masculine, and la it's feminine. So Switzerland is feminine, and this is very important to know, that it is feminine, it's not masculine. As ancient Egypt was a matriarchal society, like Cleopatra, you know, etc. Yes, Swaziland is feminine, and definitely the whore with whom all nations traded through her Nazi-Templar banks, because all the banks in the world are in fact Swiss Nazi-Templar banks. And in Swaziland they call the whore of Babylon, they call her Helvetia, hell, like hell. And they joke with it, you know, that they feel so invincible that it even shows here. I see here 2 6s, and here's the third one. So it says 666. The third one is hidden behind the Swiss Templars cross here. There's definitely 2 6s here. They know it. You know, it's just right into our faces, you know. All nations traded with her. And from the whore of Babylon in the Alps, we come to the comment number 2, saying that the female progenitor of Lone Scum looks like Cruella de Vil of Walt Disney's cartoon 101 Dalmatians, to which I replied 101 whole Dalmatians. By the way, do you know who else lived in the notorious Emmental region of the Haldeman dynasty? Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, also called Lenin, lived there, in a town called Zimmerwald, where he gathered all Russian communists in a Swiss conspiracy against the Russian people. Here it says, Lenin and the Swiss non-revolution. It was a Swiss revolution. It's acknowledged everywhere. So it says here in the article, Lenin, the father of the Russian Revolution, worked on his theories for a popular uprising while living in Switzerland. During this time, the Bolshevik leader tried to convince his Swiss comrades of the need for an international revolution. You see, his Swiss comrades. It was again a Swiss conspiracy like the one from Bob Haldeman and all the others out of Switzerland, from the Emmental region. Not very notorious. Yeah, you can read it yourself. I read some parts of it here. When Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov arrived in Switzerland in 1914, he told the authorities he was neither an army deserter nor a coward, but a political exile. Well, that's just the official part of the story, eh? And here, the Russian agitators' radical ideas also fell on deaf ears at the clandestine Zimmerwald and Kiental conferences in Switzerland in 1915 and 1916, attended by dissidents from the European left in defiance of party orders. So remember this name very well, Zimmerwald, because it's in the Emmental. Zimmerwald, yeah? I'll show you some more about it. And well, he was living in Bern, and then he moved to Zurich as well. And I'm quite sure he also was in Geneva. He wrote his mother he liked Zurich very much. Well, of course, it's the financial capital of the world, probably. So he dreamt of an armed uprising. And yeah, so he took a train, the famous diplomatic sealed train to Russia, and then the bloodbath started, all made in Switzerland. And just as today, which you can see in my video, Ukraine War, made in Switzerland. Now, the NSA spy satellite dishes of the Onyx Echelon program are in Zimmerwald, of the notorious Emmental region of the Haldeman dynasty. So here you can see it. Also, this is in Zimmerwald here. That's Zimmerwald. There's a lot of things going on there, ain't it now? Heimenschwand is also in the Emmental, canton of Bern. And here as well, this is not the Emmental, Loik. It's Valais. Here it says it is the administrative district of Thun, but it still is the Emmental here, I think. But anyway, Zimmerwald is where Lenin and a lot of things happening there. So here you can see the Swiss Federal Council. So I don't know why there are 8 here, but anyway, they are the. Here it says the 7-member executive council that constitutes the executive branch of the federal government of the Swiss Confederation, and serves as the collective head of state. You see, they have 7 heads of state, the beast with the 7 heads, and the government of Switzerland. It meets in the west wing of the Federal Palace in Bern. They got a palace, yeah, sure. So this Federal Council here has indicated that Onyx is not linked to other foreign systems such as Echelon. Here's Echelon. Well, shouldn't pay any attention to what these 7 heads of state say, eh? Just forget about it, what they say. There's no smoke without fire. And here's a picture of what it looks like, the Onyx Echelon interception electronics and dishes of the Emmental region of the Holderman dynasty. Probably have their castle here just right next to it somewhere. Eh? Also, the Duke Hartwig von Hund-Radowski, by whom Hitler got inspired, lived in the notorious Emmental region of the Holderman dynasty. And I have no doubt they all met up with the equally notorious Holderman dynasty from the Bernese Emmental, where a lot of strange things are going on. So here you can see Auschwitz. I was there, I camped outside here, just in front of it, hiding in the bushes here, and with my tent and all. And I pulled up this this notice here, and I finally left it on one of the trains of Auschwitz. It's in one of my films on my channel, Gatzefratz. So, you know, even in the name Auschwitz, in German, Switzerland is called Schweiz. In Swiss German, you say Schwitz, just like this here, Schwitz. And aus in German, it means from. So it says here, Auschwitz, it means from Switzerland. From Switzerland with love, eh? Strange kind of love, you might say. Well, this is how they portray themselves as very lovingful. So I already explained it to you. You know, Auschwitz, it is made in Switzerland. So here, YouTube Gure. I still had my old channel by that then, in those days, which was taken off. You can see the flag of, I'm probably not allowed to pronounce the country, but you can see it yourself. I don't want to have my film taken off. And so here's the title. The Duke Hartwig von Hund-Radowski from Bergdorf. He was a jaywalker hater, and Bergdorf is in the notorious Emmental, Switzerland, and Swiss Misanthropic Division on my channel Gatzefratz. Hund-Radowski lived and died in Switzerland. You know, they all go to Switzerland, just like Richard Wagner. He also lived like 20 years in Switzerland. It's full of jaywalker haters, and they all go there. You know, I mean they hate the whole world anyway. So it's straight in our eyes. You know, they don't even hide it. Auschwitz from Switzerland. From Switzerland with love. Oh, aren't they charming? Comment number 3. The name Holderman, also pronounced Helderman, sounds like Hell Demon from Planet of the Alps. And here you see Dante Alighieri. He said once, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in times of great moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. And this was the guy who said, lasciate ogni speranza voi che entrata. What I saw at the gate of that notorious Templars commandery in the south of France, and which means in English, for the one who enters, there's no more hope. But I entered anyway, and but it was quite dangerous, as you can see in that video. Comment number 4. The Swiss have more extensions than a Swiss army knife. The Swiss Reaper. Comment number 5. The father of Lone Scum is the Nazi NASA aristocrat Werner von Braun, from whom he got the rocket hobby, and they also look alike. The aristocrat Nazi NASA guy Werner von Braun, you know, von, it means he's an aristocrat, eh? He wrote this book in 1950 called Project Mars, A Technical Tale. Yeah, here's the book. Nice little rocket here. And in the book it says the Martian government was directed by 10 men, the leader of whom was elected by universal suffrage for 5 years and entitled Elon. It says Elon, yeah, in the book. And 2 houses of parliament enacted the laws to be administered by the Elon and his cabinet. This is what he wrote. Yeah? Well, how is this possible? Eh? And both Werner von Braun and Lone Scum, they have a lot of human material at their disposal. Werner von Braun, he used and he murdered a lot of concentration camp inmates from Auschwitz-Brunau. And well, Lone Scum, he's doing the same thing. He just sees us as just some human waste material to do experiments on and to be wasted, to work, and just a number, you know, human product. As on the image of the in my other video with the guy is having in his neck, human product. This is how they see us. So these 2 people, they have a lot of things in common, like this here, like the rocket hobby, number 2, and number 3, the name Elon in the book and the guy's name. This is not a coincidence. It's too much in common. Comment number 6 on Cruella de Vil. Now, why would someone call a child May that was born in April? Oh, funny. Not bad. So here you see Cruella de Vil with the magic wand of the Hell Demon dynasty or the Haldeman dynasty. There is the magic wand, like they have in their crest, in their coat of arms, remember? Comment number 7. Sean, go see this video about a woman who knew Lone Scum and got operated by his father, Dr. Joshua Haldeman, who called himself Dr. Malone. Now, when I see Dr. Malone, I couldn't help it seeing M alone, Musk alone, Lone Scum. So the channel is Shalom Girl. This is Shalom Girl. She's not a jaywalker, I think, but like a born-again Christian. Here it says, I love Jesus. And the title is EP125. I don't know what that is. Shalom Girl, Illuminati survivor who grew up with Elon. He opened the portal. So, interesting. Go and see that. Your comment number 8. Klaus Schwab also had a Swiss mother called Erika Epprecht. Now, if I see the name Epprecht, of course, we all have to think about Epstein. And Epp in Old German, if I remember that right, it means a corner. Like in a building or something, like 90 degrees, like, you know. And it also makes me think of Ritter von Epp. He was one of the beginning National Socialists, and he had the Epp Corps. Of course, he was an aristocrat, and in the name Recht, it means right, to have the right to do this, to do that. And Epp is aristocratic, apparently. So Epprecht is most certainly an aristocratic name, no doubt. So I guess that's why Schwabi boy is always hanging around Switzerland and his favorite Davos, because his mother was Swiss. And here I've got a document from Brazil, from here it says 1960. This is a picture of the mother of Schwab. I think Schwab also, you know, is hanging his head a little bit to the right or to the left, like this here. Even on a document, you know. And here says Ravensburg, which you will hear in a moment. And she was born in Zurich, here in 1906. Though her nationality is German. It says Alema. So here's her name, Erika Schwab. So this must have been 1960, born 1906. So she was here 54 years old. Yeah, the lady is 54. So she was already married to the guy called Schwab. And what is interesting too, the Schwabenland, which is the south of Germany, they're ethnic Germans, which I explained to you in my videos in the Swiss Beast. And the Swissies, they call all the Germans, they call them the Schwab, like this here. And her parents are Friedrich Elisabeth Epprecht. So here you got the name Epprecht. Erika Epprecht. That was the name she had before she was married. When she was married, her name was Schwab. His signature, maybe, yeah, well, no, there's no use. So it looks solid. This is the mother of Klaus Schwab. And that's why he was hanging all the time, hanging around in Switzerland, or he is still hanging around in Switzerland. Eh? Get all the protection even by the WEF police, special Swiss WEF police. He's one of them, you know, the WEF police, waf waf, like a dog, you know. I could just find this in French about it, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, the parents, it says deux parents, yeah. Eugen Wilhelm Schwab and Erika Epprecht. The parents of, and there's also talk he's a Rothschild, but, well, everybody talks about Rothschild, so. But, and here, Ravensburg. You will hear that in the next video as well, Ravensburg, about which I'm going to show you, by a former member of British intelligence. Your comment number 9. Sean, Klaus Schwab is Swiss. Go watch the video, Who is Klaus Schwab? Investigation by Johnny Vetmore on channel Alex Thompson Eastern Approaches. Alex here informed me openly in a comment that he's former British intelligence of the GCHQ. It's the equivalent of the CIA. And apparently trained to hand out valid intel based on facts only. So go watch the video here, proving Klaus Schwab also being a Swissie, like the rest of them octagon guys from the motherland. So here's the video, Who's Klaus Schwab? By Johnny Vetmore on this channel, Alex Thompson Eastern Approaches. There he is. So he seems to be an honest guy. You know, saying the name of the guy who did all the work, so Johnny Vetmore. And this is quite rare nowadays on the internet and YouTube. They all pinch your stuff, as they did with me, you know, all over. And they just say it's mine. Even really big names who got like 100 times more or thousands of times more views and subscribers, and they just pinch your stuff and all this. So this is a sign that Alex here, he's a decent guy. He mentions the guy who did all the work. So go and watch this channel and his, especially this video proving that this here is a Swissy, just like the rest of them, eh? And of course, Homie Hross got quite intrigued to go and have a look at the logo of the GCHQ. How could it be otherwise, you might say? So the GCHQ, it means the Government Communications Headquarters. HQ is of course headquarters. And they're situated in this sort of a UFO here called the Donut. Now, I wouldn't like to put my teeth in that one. And they are in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, in southwest England. And so, well, let's have a look at the logo then. I'm not sure if it all fits in the screen. Well, it sort of does, yeah. So look at the G. You know, why they put the square in it, hey? And the rest is like a circle, a perfect circle. And there's of course like 1/4 missing for the concept of 3, the rest what is here, and altogether 4. And so this is square, and with a compass you can make a circle. So it says square and compass. And then this one here, the Q, is of course, as we know now, thanks to Mr. Jesterman from Canada, it's a reference to the Order of the Garter, because this is what the Garter looks like. Then why do they put the gates in it here? 2 gates, eh? Well, first of all, because the house where they're being lodged in, the donut, it has like 3 sort of things on it. Yeah, there's one more here. Not here, but it's here. But then again, this one is missing, so might be something else, eh? So, of course, the circle here is the concept of 3 for the compass. And here I see like maybe 4 parts in blue. This is 1 part, 2 parts here, 3, and this is 4. So that might be the concept of 4, but it might be a bit far-fetched. But anyway, here it says very clearly square and compass. And this is, of course, the Order of the Garter, only it's a bit dubious, this one here. So here we can see a part. Here's the Fleur de Lis, which are the monarchists. And this here is the cross of the Knights Templars. So this is also related to the Order of the Garter, because the Order of the Garter is the organ which combines the 2 ruling parties of the aristocracy, which are the royalists here and the Knights Templars for the horizontal rule, and this is the vertical rule. They are here. And of course, Britain, here's the crown. I'll show it again, like here. Here you can see it, I'm sorry. And the crown is no, I don't remember what I wanted to say. Maybe put this back here. Oh yeah, the Templars cross is above the Fleur de Lis. So the Crown or the UK, they are a constitutional monarchy. They're not a real monarchy. They have the constitution of the Knights Templars, and this is why the Templars cross is above the Fleur de Lis. I'm sorry you can't see it entirely. I should have made it a bit bigger. I'll show it afterwards. All right? It's a promise, if I don't forget. That's the problem with promises, eh? So, here you can see it was formed 102 years ago as the Government Code and Cipher School. And it's called the Donut. We already showed that. Wow. It's like the Pentagon, eh? The British Pentagon. This is the British Pentagon. It reminds me of something, you know? I don't know what. All this around here, it reminds me of something. Maybe you can help me. Leave another comment. This is the annual budget, is $3 billion in a financial year. 3 billion euros, sorry. Pounds sterling, sorry. And look, the agency executive, the director, is Jeremy Fleming. Oh, he almost looks like the guy from the channel, Alex. I wonder if they all look like that in the UFO, in the donut UFO. Very similar, huh? And of course, Jeremy Fleming, like Ian Fleming, who was also in the intelligence business. He was a commander, like the Knights Templars, a commander, which is like a colonel in the Navy. So he's the director of the QCHQ. And the director of the government communication headquarters is the highest ranking official in the government. Now, of course, he is. A British intelligence agency that specializes in signals, intelligence, information assurance, and cryptography. Right. And, well, I mean, you can read, I didn't read it, you know, I just like logos, you know. And there's a lot more. Okay, I'll do it a bit slower, so you can have a look yourself. Just punch pause, and you guys and girls, you probably never heard of it. And I mean, that's spy work, you know, you don't hear of it, huh? So this is interesting. So the founder, he was 20 years like the director. Here's the list of directors, and this is a Sinclair, you know, Knights Templars, eh? Saint Clair, the Saint Clair, Sinclair. There's a lot of other names for which I can't find any reference. And now there's Fleming, like Ian Fleming. So you think that's a coincidence, eh? You thought with James Bond novels, you know, and Ian Fleming, that was the end of it. No, 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 no. These are bloodlines, people. So this is where they are now, in Cheltenham, Manchester, Scarborough, and here the former sites where they were Hawklaw. All right. And there was something else I thought was interesting. Zircon, what is that? Oh, the satellite project. Oh, they're probably in Switzerland, eh? And that's like the equivalent of the NSA, it says here. There was something I wanted to show you, but I can't see it anymore. Oh, never mind. Okay. This is the GCHQ with a completely Masonic and Order of the Garter logo. Oh yeah, I was going to show you the my promise. Just a minute. Okay, there it is again. It says here, at the heart of the nation's security. Well, security for whom? So you can see here the Templars cross is over the fleur de lis. Here you got 8 sort of leaves, octagon, of course, because they are at the top of it all, like here, at the top of it all. And then there are 3 times a flash, like in a thunderstorm. And in German language, a flash, it's called Blitz, like Blitzkrieg. You know, they're having a Blitzkrieg against us. So this means here's the world, and these here, the Knights Templars, all the way on top, and then here fleur de lis for the royalists, the crown, They are ruling over humanity, over the globe, over the earth. And they're ruling through a blitzkrieg. The blitzkrieg, yeah? That's what it means. And they're using square and compass and... Okay, kept my promise, did I? So, I hope this is a bit bigger now. It's all there, you know, here. The octagon, the blitzkrieg, the control over the earth, the crown, and the crown consists of the horizontal rule and the vertical rule of the Knights Templars and the royalists, all together, held together by the Order of the Garter, which allows them to rule over the earth, like going down here through the blitzkrieg. And here it says square and compass. Well, isn't that fantastic? We can go soundly to sleep. Well, good night to you all then, eh? GCHQ, always listening to our customers. Did GCHQ spy on you? It is quite logical that the Swissies and Haldeman, and other Swiss nobility dynasties are on all key positions in the world, because it's their system by the Swiss Nazi-Templars founding the very first democratic republic in history in the year 1291, being their little republican horizontal rule democratic New World Order baby, and exported it to the entire world, thus leading to 2 world wars because of the feudal vertical rule. Old World Order monarchies didn't want to leave the scene. And this is what you can exactly see here in this image. You see here the guys and girls from the castle, and he's afraid. You can see that. Look on his eyes. He's shaking, you know. The guy with the fleur de lis here. And all of a sudden, something new happened. Look, the Swiss are coming with their new system, you know. Bang, it's so new, it's still dripping, you know. So the person who made this drawing, you know, this caricature, well, he's initiated. He knows exactly, or she knows exactly what it's all about. I hope you can see it, eh? Here's the Old World Order, feudal system here. The vertical rule. And here is the New World Order, horizontal rule, the democratic republican system. All of a sudden, bang! What are we going to do now, eh? Well, let's make 2 world wars, eh? We got enough slaves, we got enough human material at our disposal, and we can just smoke them and waste them, and at least we can keep our castle, eh? That's what it's all about. Okay, let's do that. So, of course, the Swissies needed to take part in the international export system, and therefore we find them all over the world on all key positions and gradually making our lives more and more miserable with all those Swiss bobs, loan scums, Swiss Cruella de Vil, and Haldemand governators. Swissy and their 7 heads beast system rule the world indeed, although the idea was born in Troyes, France, by the initially poor aristocratic Knights Templars, who then made their utopia in the Alps, as in planet of the Alps. The planet belongs to the ruling class of the Alps.